Here's what's coming up on the Cold Popcast.
Something laying that out in the context of like people who are, oh, my type is I like alphas, right? Well, there's no such thing actually. Humans are you're dominant in some situations, not in others, right?
I feel like a lot of people, when they think of an alpha male, they think of somebody that's like, a big, swole, rich guy that has a
Giga
boat.
Chad.
Yeah, Giga Chads. But, those people are often very insecure.
But to say that it's obsolete and you don't need it, I think that's when you start to, run into like certain aspects of society that can be more destructive than what we intend. What's poppin', everybody?
Welcome back to the Cold Popcast.
I'm Zoe.
And I'm Steve.
And today we're going to be talking about beta males.
Yeah, so, I know we're a room full of alphas, so we probably haven't got too much to relate to with beta males, but this episode is basically going to be about, what it is to be a beta male, what it means, where the culture kind of came from, and Zoe, do you have any extra insight into what a beta male is?
Yeah. So first thing I want to do is start with the definition. Did you all the boys take their alpha brain today?
Yeah, yeah, I got mine direct from Joe Rogan.
All right. I'm glad we're all pumped on iron
off.
and we're thinking fast. But the definition from Urban Dictionary, of course, because I don't even know if like the actual definition exists for humans. But a beta male is a man who lacks masculine energy and adopts feminine characteristics, often faces problems or confrontations passive aggressively. Beta male is often taken advantage of due to his nice guy persona. So essentially, a beta male is just kind of like a wimpy, weak guy.
Yeah,
essentially.
Yeah, and I believe the terminology comes from I want to say the Greek language. Like beta is like second to alpha.
Yeah.
So the beta is like the one that's always behind and always like losing basically, and the alpha would be like the king.
Yeah, and I think it's like essentially adopted from like the same standard we set for like animals in the animal kingdom, where it's like the alpha of the pack, like a wolf pack, is the most dominant wolf, kind of gets all the resources first, tells the other wolves what to do, or at least has the power to intimidate them and force his will upon them. And I think in the human society, we adopt that same characteristics or that same idea. So like alphas are like the most charismatic, most charming, the leaders, the strong. Whereas the betas are, the meek,
the soy.
Yeah, the soy, the cuck, the less attractive. Those are the betas. But to kind of delve into it and give you guys, maybe some visualization. Here's some black guy who goes ahead and talks about what a beta male is, and how it determine if you are one or not.
All beta males. This term is all around the internet. Beta male, alpha male, and I'm here to tell you exactly who beta males are. Beta males are men who do anything for female approval. Beta males are men who put women before their purpose. Beta males are men who will go behind a friend's back in hopes of making a woman like them. Beta males are men who basically worship the ground a woman walks on. A guy who does not put himself first, a guy who needs some, is a beta male. As a man, you should be putting your purpose, family, friends first, and then you're a woman. This is how women fall in love with you. Believe whatever you want to believe. A woman does not want to be the top priority in your life. If you're trying to put women at the top priority in your life, you are a beta male.
Do we agree with that?
Yeah,
I agree with it.
I agree. What's actually funny is he actually more or less like he came from the reference of like how a man can be a beta male in terms in like relation to women, because he just described a simp.
Yeah,
more or less.
Yeah.
Like,
Pretty
That's
much.
just
yeah, just like I said, a man who pedestalizes women over his own needs and basically just literally kisses the ground they walk on.
Yeah, it doesn't like focus on their purpose. They're too busy focusing on like the woman.
Yeah, they're too busy focusing on trying to get like their mouth spat in by a prostitute in a parking lot.
some things are probably right, some things are kind of wrong, but
Yeah, I mean, like for me, like something that was a little jarring from what he just said was like, you need to put your purpose, your family, your friends over your woman. The only thing that I would say there's a little bit of a compromise needed there is that I would say your friends and your woman should probably be a little bit closer together in terms of like their hierarchy. I would say purpose and family over your woman, but I don't know about like friends, because like there's like different levels of friends. There's different levels of friendship.
Yeah.
So
well, I agree with that. I think it's also prioritizing like how, because I think friend is a term that people use pretty loosely. Because I think people who say like I have a lot of friends probably just have like a lot of associates and a couple friends. So I think if you have like actual friends, if you're using that like directly, I could see how that could apply, because they're like I think a friend is a title you give to someone that you genuinely trust, like it, someone that the same way with your woman, you can kind of let your guard down around because it's like they have your loyalty, to that extent. So I think in that regard, I can see how that would apply the same way as if you're saying like, a brother or like a family member.
And I think that something he kind of touched on is like, it seems like from his definition, beta males don't really have that level of loyalty. Like they'll go behind your back just to get with a woman. You know? So. And
also to what you said too, I think the priority where it's like, do you put your friends before women or a woman? I think it's a little different if you're talking about your wife. If you have that, like, I think if you elevate a woman to wife, then inherently you're giving her some level of connection to you that goes beyond just like a girl you're dating. I think in retrospect to what he might be talking about, he might be referring to just like if you're trying to impress a girl or if you're just dating a girl and you immediately pedestalize her. But I think that becomes way more flexible if you're talking about like a woman you're married to, because then that's become like that's your family at that point, But if you are dealing with just a woman, the people who were in your life before her, that needs to be maintained as a priority, because the second you start prioritizing the woman, I think that's when you start, dipping off into like simp behavior.
I don't know, man. I think it's kind of soy to prioritize your wife.
You think so?
No. No, I don't think that.
LOL.
Yeah. So let's
let's
see a little bit more about beta males.
Yeah. So actually, this is a clip we're gonna watch. We're gonna watch a little of it, not the whole thing. There was a segment back in the day where Joe Rogan talked to Adam Conover. Yeah. Yeah. And if you guys don't know who he is, he used to have this show on True TV called Adam's Room with Everything. Basically, it was a show that basically took like kind of almost like what would have been considered like controversial takes, like girls are actually the biggest gamers, stuff like that.
Wasn't he from Mythbusters too?
No, he wasn't on Mythbusters. He had a YouTube channel.
Okay, he would take like very like virtue signally takes and basically like preach it as though it's like fact or gospel, and then now he's on that's how he got his fame. Now he's on Joe Rogan's podcast arguing to him, and they had a topic where they discussed like beta males. And whether or not they exist. So here's like a cut of that, and then we're gonna kind of do a deep dive into it.
But no, we did one on alpha males. We did an episode about dating, and we did one on how the idea of the alpha male doesn't exist in humans. Like if you talk to any anthropologist, any biologist, any sociologist, right, and be like, are humans organized in a social relationship where there's alphas and betas? They'll be like, no, what are you talking about? This is an unscientific idea, right? And we just did something laying that out in the context of like people who are, my type is I like alphas, right? Well, there's no such thing actually, humans are you're dominant in some situations, not in others, right? It's an overly simplistic way of looking at human relationships. And I thought that was a pretty simple, straightforward thing. I was like, this is just a bit of pseudoscience that you hear people tossing out. And people went ballistic on the internet because people have sort of like built a edifice of ideology in their minds about like, there's alphas, there's betas. I'm an alpha. This is what an alpha's like. This is what a beta's like.
Well, let's take away the words.
Yeah,
they're clearly men who are more aggressive and athletic and dominant and more confident, and then men who are introverted and shy and more nervous and anxious. And there's a scale
in some situations,
Okay.
But
you can pause it now.
And that's what we're talking about, right?
Okay. So if go back to the Trello real quick for me, as I'll just kind of sum up what their talking points were through most of the conversation. So pretty much Adam, like his point of view or what he argued was that beta males don't exist in the context that it does with animals, like a wolf pack. And even goes on to argue that like in some studies, it shows that the idea that humans have of the alpha male and beta male relations in like how the animals kingdom or in how it works in the animal kingdom is actually a misconception based on like faulty research study that was done on the dynamics of wolf packs. So his idea is that it doesn't like exist in that like it's based on a faulty premise that we have about alpha males and beta males and wolf packs.
I feel like I don't know if that's necessarily true. I do think that the word alpha male is abused by like like fitness guys and dudes that are like in the self-improvement thing and guys that are like I got to be a high value man. It's always like, I'm an alpha, you're a beta. It's just a way to like classify yourself as better than other people a lot of the time. But I also feel like there's so many examples of people who are absolutely like alpha males. Like, like people that are just like stand out from the pack almost. Like they stand out from the rest of humanity because they
successful.
like they have that level of success.
Some
They have
people
that.
just are at a high level of success.
Yeah, like Elon Musk. He's an alpha male, right?
I'd say so. Actually, yeah, I'd actually say he is.
Got alpha
You
male
think so?
money, that's for sure.
Yeah,
That's
he's
funny.
clearly like an alpha, but it's just like I don't think that the kind of like how he said it, there's like an edifice of like the dynamic of alpha versus beta that people have, where it's like it's not necessarily true. It's almost like a myth. It's like a mythical alpha male versus a mythical beta male. But then like I think, not to say that my opinion on what those things are is the truth, but I feel like there's like a version of alpha that isn't like mainstream. The mainstream like specific thing that people would think of. Like I feel like a lot of people, when they think of an alpha male, they think of somebody that's like, you know, a big swole rich guy that has a
Giga
boat.
Chad.
Yeah, Giga Chads. But you know, those people are often very insecure. They're often very not actually confident. They're like, you know, doing a false inflation of their confidence sometimes. There's always things that are wrong with people that, you know, aren't maybe shown publicly, but like, you know, maybe they're seeking attention through social media. So they say, I'm an alpha male, so you need to do what I do in order to get rich.
Yeah.
You know, and then that's just like their whole dynamic.
You sound like did you work on like Just Pearly Things podcast? You sound like one of the black guys that came from there. Oh, I'm an alpha male, and you should listen to me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm actually on that podcast right now.
I knew it.
Yeah, I'm one of those people.
But I'll give what Joe's argument was, and then I'll kind of break down like what I think my interpretation of it is. So Joe, he goes on to argue that like our modern conception of what a beta male is in the human aspect is real, and that it applies to and defines men in society who are, you know, pretty much less confident, less assertive, and are generally seen as less attractive or socially less attractive individuals. So I think what the interesting part and probably why they weren't like, I think in the like in the totality of the conversation, they never really saw eye to eye. I think it's because like Adam's trying to argue, he's trying to do a 1-to-1 comparison by saying like beta males like animals how animals do it don't exist in the human society. But I think it's like Joe is kind of saying like he understands that, but it's the fact that like we have our like humans interact in our own social dynamic where there is like a beta male alpha male dynamic in existence. It's not like 1-to-1 with animals, but we have like it's basically like a derivative of that's taken on its own life. Like we don't use it to say like, oh, a beta male in the human society is a man that lives in a house with a bunch of other men, but like he can't eat dinner yet because the alpha male didn't show up to the table. Like it's basically just like the idea that like there are some men who are just more confident and are able to demand more respect from a social standpoint than others because of how they carry themselves, their charisma, and all that.
I'd say that the difference between the animals and the people is maybe that in the animal kingdom, it's more so like natural, like genetic based, like, you know, like a big wolf that has the most strength and the most ability to, I guess, hunt and mate or whatever. They're going to be the ones that are the alpha male. But in human society, it's more like the person that works the hardest or the person that has the most creativity or, you know, the person that, you know, they're unique in a realm where it actually matters to humans. Like, you know, if you're a guy that lives in, you know, 2023 and you're really good at hunting, that doesn't make you an alpha male. But that would have made you an alpha male back when it was harder to do. And it was the way that you actually, you know, when it was actually how you survived. You know, if you can do things that actually other men can't do in terms of survival, like, you know, for example, you know, being like a high-powered entrepreneur or something, or being like a high-powered person in a corporate environment, then you're now in the realm of being an alpha male because you're the one that's leading the pack. Yeah,
I think it's a good point because one of the kind of like thoughts I proposed was can the role of a beta male and alpha male fluctuate based on the group or environment? So an example would be like, you know, let's take a scrawny, like socially awkward, like chess playing, like savant, you know, just like, you know, just a general nerd who's really good at like one particular thing. And like a social setting like chess, you know, he has drawbacks for like being socially successful where, you know, he's not built, he's not socially adept. And people are he's probably either going to get bullied, he's not going to have a lot of friends, people are going to find him socially off or weird. But because he's like good at this one thing, let's say he's at a chess club, he'll probably be like one of the most dominant figures there because like in that environment, he is, you know, seen as like the, you know, one of the most prominent forces. You know, he's like,
one of the most successful, the top guy.
Yeah, like I'm a chess genius. Exactly. So it's like in an environment where it's like the goal or the main focus is chess, you know, it's like he could be the alpha, you know? Right. So I think that also applies. So it's like, you know, heck, you can be like a really charismatic, like talkative person, but like, you may have a drawback. Maybe you're not maybe you're not like a smart person. You can't like go into like a room and program with a bunch of programmers or understand like, like tech science.
Yeah.
But maybe you can
like
sell a car
street
like a
smart,
champion.
You can talk your way into stuff.
Yeah, you're street smart. Maybe you're a wise guy. You can sell things. Like I think because humans are more complex, the like boiled down idea of it doesn't necessarily apply to where it's like
The label, yeah,
like the alpha walrus is just going to be the biggest walrus. He's going to be the guy that can bully everyone else. But like I said, the people in human society, because we have a more complex dynamic with how we relate to each other. The person who becomes the president isn't going to be the strongest person in the world. It's going to be someone who has the skill sets that like can navigate through a political dynamic.
Right.
It doesn't work like an anime where it's like the higher up, like the Navy, the stronger everyone gets.
Yeah.
The fleet admiral is the strongest man in the Navy.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it definitely doesn't work like that. And I feel like it's actually, it could have worked like that back in the day, though, like the strongest guy. But even then, once different like systems that got created that actually make society more complex, like you said, then that's when the position of the beta male and the alpha male kind of could have switched. Like people that were once betas are now alphas, and people that were once alphas are now betas, because it's like, oh, well, I'm really strong and I'm really fit, but I work at Planet Fitness. It's like, you're getting your $10 an hour, and it's like, in society, are you really an alpha? You might be able to do things like, obviously you're super fit and you can have sex with a bunch of different girls, but at the same time, what actual value does that have in the modern society?
Yeah, it's
beyond
like
pleasure.
Exactly. It's like a bodybuilder that's a telemarketer.
Or like the top tier bowler, like someone who's like the top bowler in the world. That guy makes like $100,000, but he's been like, doing this sport. He's literally at the peak of the sport. Yeah. But he makes like $100,000, and his arms are gonna fall off one day.
Yeah. There's like bed salesmen making more money than him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
literally.
Yeah. So I mean, I think that's the thing, with the alpha beta male dynamic. I would want to pose the question though, because I know the alternative is like, well, let me ask this: does anyone here like want to be a beta, or do we assume like being a beta is generally like a bad thing? Like men shouldn't want to be beta males.
I think that men should not want to be beta males, but I think if you are a beta male, there's no reason for you to like hate yourself. Being a beta male is something that isn't like, it's not like you're born a beta male and you'll remain that way for the rest of your life. If you are a beta, you can pick up habits and traits that will make you less of a beta in the future.
Okay.
But I think being a beta is sort of like a rite of passing. Like you have to go through it. Like I used to be a real beta. Like I used to be quite in the beta. Yeah, I used to be very cucked. Well, no, I was never cucked, but I was just a beta male in the sense that I wasn't someone that was following purpose. I wasn't someone that had drive. I was lazy. But I feel like my time traveling the world and being in Thailand and just sort of like making myself into a different person had allowed me to actually get to a point where now I feel like I'm an alpha. And I think that's a part of it, where it's like, there's always going to be something about you that's beta. There's not always going to be everything in you that's like, oh, wow, I'm just like the perfect guy. Like I'm sure Elon Musk, like sometimes he has like cucked moments, know? So
would you say like his entire buying of Twitter was a cucked moment?
No, I think him buying Twitter was kind of alpha, because he was like, he pretty much knew like, I'm going to go into this deal knowing that it's sort of a loss, and I'm going to make it work because I know that I have the ability to do it. Yeah, and I feel like that's a pretty alpha move.
I want a bunch of like Elon Musk haters to come and literally just attack Steve in the comments. So that'd be hilarious. But yeah, I guess bouncing off of that, I would say that because the only alternative a lot of times, and like I said, I think what you said was good, where it's like, because we're complex, you can't like, there's no like such thing as being a alpha or beta in totality. Like you're gonna have aspects that you excel in and some that you don't. Do you think that would you argue then that the best alternative is to just always strive to be a beta? Or do you think there are, being an alpha isn't like always necessarily like the answer? Like you should do that. Do you think there's like any drawbacks?
Should I strive to be a beta?
No, I said strive to be an alpha.
Oh no, you said beta.
Oh my bad. I meant to say that.
I'm like, why would I ever do that?
No, my bad.
I can't wait to let someone fuck my wife. But no, I think that striving towards being an alpha should kind of be the goal. Like, but not striving to be someone else's version of alpha, but striving to be what you believe to be an alpha mentality.
Okay.
Now, if for you that means that you're gonna just play Magic the Gathering and sit at home and play with your cats, then it's like, okay, there's a limit to where it's like your definition of alpha. There's a limit to what your definition of alpha can be.
Yeah.
Like obviously there's like, are you successful? Are you happy? Do you have purpose? Maybe alpha is not even the word, but I feel like, to me, alpha is like someone who is dominant in society.
Okay.
So dominant meaning that you have a position in society that is more than the minority, right? So if you're more than a minority, you can't just be like every other guy. So you have to be doing something that's different than every other guy. That's what I think. So no, you shouldn't want to be a beta.
Okay. Do you think being an alpha can be sometimes toxic?
Yeah, so I think that there are certain things about alpha culture, I guess, like alpha, like
alpha brain,
meathead and Chad culture, where it's like there's people that
go to gym, bruv.
Yeah, like everyone wants you to go to the gym and they want you to have a bunch of sex, but I feel like the culture around that is like it's built for failure. I think it's built for like it's pushing the wrong ideals. Now, would I say it's something like toxic masculinity? Not necessarily, because I think masculinity is inherently good, especially when it's coming from a man. But masculinity has perks, like traditionally toxically masculine things can even be good traits in women, I feel like. So
you want a masculine woman?
No, I'm saying that masculine traits within a woman can be good. Like, okay, this woman's a good leader. That's a masculine trait.
Okay. All right, fair enough.
Yeah.
Just branching off that, there's a video about actual toxic masculinity that Joe had, old Rogan here had to say. So let's see what he has to say about it.
Of course but not, the problem is, in this society, male energy, male thinking, male energy is vilified. And you're taught to think there's something wrong with being masculine. Being masculine is the reason why we don't speak German. Okay? Stop.
Exactly. Talk about toxic masculinity. You'll be the poster boy for that shit.
Well, the whole reason why you need male people is because there's male people other places that will take away your shit and kill your people and rape.
Exactly.
This is not a bad thing. Male does not equal evil. Just because there are evil men, they are evil men. Doesn't mean all men are evil. There's evil women too. It doesn't mean all women are evil.
I dated 3 of them.
I bet you dated more than 3. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
All women are evil.
Of course
but
not.
The problem is in this society.
Yeah, so I mean, I agree with Joe Rogan saying there. Like, he seems to be making a good point. Like, you need men that are men, like traditional definition men. While I may not be the guy that's going to go kill somebody, protect the country, I know that we need that type of masculinity to keep our country safe.
Yeah, I think there's a yin and a yang. It's like masculinity, femininity. It's like it's a balance, and it's about knowing when and where and like where not to apply it. Because it's like the same, I guess, what would be considered toxic masculinity that, and I'm stealing a quote. I can't remember if it's from, I think it's from Crowder, actually. But it's like, it's like the same masculinity that would drive, a person to, be violent or maybe like run into a store and steal something, because they needed something urgently or, just in general, just because they wanted it. It's like probably the exact same type of energy that would like cause a firefighter to like recklessly run into a building and save a baby. It's like, it'll have its perks, but it also has like, it also has like, its downfalls, and it's just knowing when to apply it. But to say that it's obsolete and you don't need it, I think that's when you start to, run into like certain aspects of society that can be more destructive than what we intend. People hate bees, but we need bees. I think it's just like knowing when to apply it, when it's good and when it's not good. And kind of going back to where we were talking about what it is to be an alpha. I do believe, like you said, there is a weird culture that's developed now with this whole like anti-simp, anti-cuck movement where like everyone's so gung-ho to appear masculine that a lot of it comes off as more of a front.
Yeah, they're like
authentic
cartoon characters.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it is projection because it's like, if a person, I think being like having alpha really does start with mentality. It's like, not focusing too much on like the superficial parts, but generally trying to be a confident person and taking like actual pride in the things you want to do and doing them with confidence. So I think part of the problem that you see now is a lot of people try to mask their lack of confidence by being like, I'm just going to go to the gym and be really strong. I'm just going to be really loud all the time and, take up the most space. I'm going to be the guy that stands with my legs too far apart and my hands on my hips, my chest out. That guy.
Like, I don't go to the gym, but I'm clearly the most alpha guy in this room.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean, look at him.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, definitely. I think that's the most important thing. Anyone else got anything you want to share?
No.
Other than Steve stroking himself on the back.
I feel like you don't want to be a beta male, but in life you have everybody go through a beta phase.
Yeah.
And something, you know what I'm saying? And you could become an alpha. It's very similar to what you said, so or whichever one of y'all.
One of us said it.
But yeah, basically, that's my take on it.
Okay.
Would you consider yourself a beta male, Roosevelt?
Nah, I wouldn't consider myself a beta male because I take care of business.
Well, were you ever a beta male?
Yes.
What was it like being a beta? I don't know. I've never been through that.
I mean, well, I don't mean it. Hold on, I don't mean it in the sense of like
I'm joking.
the way they described it though.
Right.
I had a beta phase in something in life. You know what I'm saying?
In one aspect.
It's right. So, I mean, it sucked.
We all had a beta phase. We probably should actually have an episode one day where we go like through our beta phases, like where we talk about like our beta phase.
Yeah, that'd be fun. I was gonna say, what is like a experience or a beta experience that you think every man should experience in order to grow?
Having someone take your girl, or having someone at least like not even just your girl, but like even if it's at like even if it's like not your girl, like not your girlfriend, but like a girl you're aiming for. Like say you have a crush on someone in high school and you just cannot get them, and then someone else gets them and you find out they're dating. Yeah. That's like something that has to happen, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Something similar happened to me like that, which is crazy as hell. It's this female, right? This female that I always looked at, you feel me? And I had my opportunity to get at her, and I bombed it, basically. Yeah. And then the next day I found out somebody else was with her.
Swooped in and
somebody that
took your girl.
Me?
Yeah, that's basically like the kid version of getting cucked.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like having that experience teaches you like, what's important. Like, you learn how to cope and deal with that type of stuff. And I feel like those little experiences are like building blocks towards that alpha mentality.
Yeah. And even I would say like getting bullied. And it doesn't even have to just be physical. Like I think maybe getting a fight or two might help you. Like one, know what a punch feels like and prepare you. But like even like getting roasted at a lunch table and then like you don't have anything to say until later in the shower. We're just like, just fucking sit that.
I would say
hit close to home.
Like that's gotta happen. I think that helps you grow. One, it puts you in a situation where you're uncomfortable and you learn from it, and then you always kind of like have a mentality of like being prepared or at least have an expectation about how ruthless people can be with each other, like even verbally.
I would say like losing or dealing with adversity and knowing how to cope with it.
Mm-hmm. Because are you talking about like losing a rejection or like losing like a sport or a game?
Well, anything.
Okay.
Anything. Any type of losing is good for you mentally, only because if you get back up from that and you learn and you figure out how to, become better and you strive to want to be better, that's to me what's key to like an alpha mentality.
Okay.
I've heard the phrase.
I'm not going to be, I'm knocked down, but I'm not staying down. I'm getting back up immediately and I'm going out for what I desire.
I've heard the phrase, and it refers to that as like failing forward. Like you fail, but it keeps pushing you in the right direction. You fail forward until eventually like those failures mean less and less, and eventually you just stop failing, or you do fail, but every time you fail, there's also a win behind it.
That's true. That's how I made it.
Yeah.
That's my story.
I've failed my whole life.
Sleazy, fail, and leasy.
There you go.
Okay, guys, let's close this one out, man. Thanks for watching this episode about beta males. You can follow The Cold Popcast on all social media platforms at The Cold Popcast. We're on audio and video platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Rumble, everywhere you can find audio or video. Thanks for popping in, everybody. We got to pop out of here.
All right. Peace.
Haram!